Right, unless anybody's got any questions for me?
I don't have questions, but I have just put a little damper on things.
Oh.
As I tend to do sometimes. On a serious note, the snow this weekend, and Sal will probably talk more about the plowing and things like that. We ran into a couple situations with too many cars on the park on Main Street. And the culprits, I won't name names, but there is a bar or two in the village that totally disregard our state of emergency. And what happens is those cars park on the road, they stay there, the plows can't go by, some of the cars stay there overnight, they get piled with snow, people come back, they empty the snow all over the street. It's a problem, and it's a recurring problem. And I think that the next snowstorm, we're going to aggressively go into any bar, restaurant, store that stays open and advise them that anybody parked on the street will get a ticket. Because, you know, Sal's guys over there come down and you know, if those streets have no cars parked on the side of the road, it's a quick cleanup. Otherwise, it takes time, they gotta come back, and we can't do the job. And the same in the parking lots. You know, if the restaurants stay open and there's 20 cars in the parking lot behind Colony Shop and Blum's, our plows can't do the job that they can normally do. They gotta wait till the next day, and as we know, plowing snow the next day is always harder than plowing snow when it's coming down. So,
I mean, I know some of the people that are involved. I know it's been a back and forth for a few years now. I mean, certainly whatever the village wants to implement, I'll just get the word out that that's what's going to happen.
That's what we'll do. You know, once the snow's coming down, a state of emergency.
It was my understanding, you know, that the village did a nice job of plowing parking lots and leaving room in parking lots. So certainly for those that, you know, needed to be out that night and wanted to be out, they could have parked in the parking lot. So I certainly support if when there's a snow emergency, towing and ticketing the cars.
I don't think anybody can deny that Saturday morning in the village was a rough road for everybody. The parking lots, right, in the streets, everywhere. And of course, as everybody knows, the priority is getting the streets clear. And if we can get a plow going down Main Street, curb to curb, without having to go around cars. And, you know, it's dangerous to keep the cars parked there because these guys are working on, you know, they're working on very little sleep. They get through there, and every time they have to go around the car or whatever, it's just a real problem.
My message will certainly be to all of them.
Yeah.
If it's a plowable snow, if you have patrons in your place, implore that they must get off the street.
They've got to go off the street. And we would prefer if they didn't stay open.
At all. Which I think the majority, definitely did.
I think maybe one or two stayed open, and they're the ones and the twos that always stay.
Right. You know, and their argument, as you're probably aware, you know, there's now a lot of residents in the downtown area that can walk. They want to be able to accommodate those residents that are walking distance, but
but I don't believe it.
Yeah, I tell you what they tell me.
It's all about the money. So just next snowstorm when we have a state of emergency, just keep that in mind. And so people say, what are the village doing picking? Everybody's been doing it.
You got it, Jack.
But otherwise, everything's fine.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was a challenging storm, both the timing of it and the condition of the icy layer to the wet snow and to the colder snow on top.
Yeah.
I know that was a challenge for you guys, and I know that's
Trustee Felice.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think Deputy Mayor Krieger hit the nail on the head earlier about not being able to park on Main Street during snowstorms. It's just a big, makes a mess. They're in the way, and like Jack had said earlier, they have to come back later on, and it's just much harder to clean up afterwards. You know, then you have unforeseen things where, you know, pump motors go bad, sanders stop working, you know, so everything that plays along with it just goes, you know, you see these unforeseen things, and that's why a lot of the times snow removal, especially the way the storm came, started as rain and ice and snow and heavy snow, and so it was a big undertaking for the guys to try and get it cleaned up. And with those obstacles in the way, it just makes it a lot harder. So if we could keep at least Main Street clean. You know, even some side streets also. There were cars parked in the way, and, you know, then they get buried, and then they dig themselves out and throw the snow in the middle of the road, so, you know, then someone complains, guys have to go back. So it's a very trying situation when you have a storm that comes that fast also, where it's dumping 2, 3, 4 inches at an hour. I mean, because there was a time where it was probably dumping about 3 inches an hour, you know. So, having said that, we'll have to work on a few things and, you know, try and keep the parked cars off the street.
But they do a great job.
Yeah, they do. They do as best the job that they can. They do that. You know, it's a hard thing. I do it myself, and I know what it's like to try and move snow and ice like that. It's tough.
And they're doing it for a long period of time. It's
right.
not,
Yeah.
you know, it's not just one pass through, but they're.
Right. You have to try and keep up with the storm, and you know.
You have that layer of kind of icy underneath.
You know, then when the wind's blowing like that, all that dry snow is just blowing across and freezing on contact, which really makes it tough.
In just my riding around, it looked like the side streets were good in neighborhoods.
Yeah, for the most part, they really well.
It's the main roads that,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's still driving and everybody's parked. And,
Yeah.
right.
Thank you all for your time.
Okay, thanks, Dennis.
Mr. Bojack.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
John Bogack, 89th Street. Just 2 quick questions. Well, one's an observation about the storm too, and our website, the Village Trustees. I've seen this a couple times. The village transmits information out mostly through Long Island Vans or Patchogue or greatcontact.com. For example, the mayor will declare an emergency. It's not on the village website. The beginning of the emergency and the end of the emergency is not on that website. I watched that all during the course of this current storm. It conforms with the pattern. It's not a criticism, it's a suggestion.
Very good point. I think we put it on Facebook. Yeah, and that's something that.
We have an alert section on the website. Unfortunately, I was not given the privileges to that by Sterl's Graphics.
Well,
I had requested it. It was not given to me. I believe that Clerk Seal has some rights to it, and I've been trying to meet with her to go over that. So.
Okay, well, that's one thing, but there's a patch of information that, like this morning, just before I came to the meeting, the Brickhouse Brewery is announcing that there's road closures within the vicinity for snow removal. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
fake news.
Well, it's actually news that came from other media.
Where were we closing?
It lists a number of streets. It's an echo of an announcement that
that's
came out earlier
yeah.
during the course of the emergency, because what's happening is the advance will take a piece or whatever if you get the greater Patchogue.com, take another piece, and it's still rolling around. It's the absence of a centralized authority that would be needed, you know. I don't want to belabor the point. But I think it would be, if the mayor was here, or to yourself, you know, people do look at that website and they're actually looking for guidance.
Well, as someone who has control of the town of Brookhaven website, we do that. We have a banner on the top when there's a snow emergency. It says snow emergency, click here, and we give you all the information. So it's something that maybe
I
Sterl's
think
Graphics.
once you solve the issue with Sterl's Graphics, then you would have been able to do it.
Yeah, that should be definitely how, you're right.
Okay.
That's,
And on a further point, now, the other cars that are parked on Main Street, they should be taken equipped without a doubt. Do we actually tow cars anymore?
we have the ability to tow cars, and we have towed cars.
Move them off.
The problem is like when you put all these
When
cars.
you're trying to plow
Yeah.
and get that done expeditiously, if you have to start towing 50 cars, how do you
And
manage
then
that?
try to steal them.
So, I mean, we in fact, Trustee Felice and the rest of the board, we were talking about it earlier today, and that it is an issue. And I think number one thing is cooperation from the businesses downtown. I know that most of the stores, Mark, did you close?
Yeah.
Yes, we closed.
We closed, yeah, they all closed.
Mark called me at 6:30 in the morning, he was closing.
Good, good.
They said I could stay home that day too.
And I said David could stay
Oh,
home.
good.
have a great day.
But that's the most important thing, is cooperation from downtown. And then the last thing we want to do is tow cars. We don't want to tow people's cars. It costs us money, it costs them money, it's just a problem. Ticketing, again, we don't want to give tickets, so I think the issue, it is a problem, and we experienced it a great deal this
But you
snowstorm.
know, but this is a state of emergency. You know, people have to be held accountable, quite honestly. And there has to be some penalty for accountability to occur. So, you know, really, that's the counter argument. Let's keep these roads clean and move them along. And people are parking when they know they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Ticket them.
Yeah.
Use authority and take them off the roads. Get those trucks through. Let's get going.
Absolutely correct. No, I 100% agree with you.
All right, well, that's just one member of the public expressing that to you.
Yeah.
And the other question I just had was a totally different subject, which is the